Welcome to the CraftsWombman channel.
Well,
It's
thank
all
you.
good. Sorry about that. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, Sister Muhammad, could you
Yes,
start out with this wonderful subject, guarding the mind and womb?
yes. At what we're dealing with on a month-to-month basis and focusing, so many of us have issues that we're dealing with, and we don't take time to, hone in on it and deal with it. Take those 28-day periods because, it takes 21 days to break a habit. So for something that we need to work on, we can use the benefit of this particular challenges that come to us. Let's look at it. Let's deal with them because I'm working with women, now the prenatal women. I'm working with women under SSI and, I'm teen mothers, women looking for work. And a lot of their challenges stem from birth. And many of us think that, okay, we just have a baby or we just, have children and we're not affected. We go, it's like business as usual after we have a baby. And we really need to stop and look at that because it really isn't business as usual. A lot of us get depressed after we have a baby. A lot of us are depressed during a pregnancy because we aren't allowed to take the time off. In this country, you don't get that much time off. If you take time off during your pregnancy time, then you have less time off to take with your baby before you have to go back to work. And for most of us, 6 weeks is when you got to give your baby to strangers. Well, that's affects a lot of women. During the postpartum time, they're like, oh, how am I gonna, give my baby over, or where am I gonna take my baby? If you don't have the benefit of having family, and a lot of us in today's world, our families are so split up that we don't have family to help support us. And so we're looking at, having to get over the depressed feelings because it's not natural to give your baby up after you have it. We've been taught that that's what you do and get over it, but we have feelings about that. Our babies have feelings about that. And we kind of not address those feelings, and it becomes bigger. It becomes emotionally challenging for us, in terms of how we bond, in terms of how we look at our current relationships. It affects everything. Mm-hmm. How's that? Am I talking too fast?
No, I love it. No, I want all the information. Well, I wanted us to go ahead. I know that, we're going to be speaking about a lot with the birth and preparing everything. Well, I like the fact that your I guess you can say your thing is preparing us to give birth.
Yes.
With the pre-birth parenting prenatal education class, I think that is a good thing that we need to do before we try to get, everybody want to get pregnant, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on with the prenatal, the pre-birth part. And I also want to talk about, I saw something on your website about the emotional reasons that babies are breech. And we don't talk about that part. Nobody ever even gives us real reasons in the medical field of why, a baby is a breech. They have, can you tell us about why so many of us are still breech like after 36 weeks?
Well, babies have feelings too inside of the womb. And when mother's upset, it affects the babies. There have been cases where babies have been heard crying inside of the womb. Because of mother's stress, that emotion goes to her child inside of her womb. And, maybe mother has somebody she can cry, on their shoulder or something like that. But we forget about that baby inside. And this is why, the elders used to say, keep a pregnant woman happy. You keep a pregnant woman happy, that child is going to come here happy. About, the women that are sad all the time or upset the whole pregnancy and their babies come out just like that. You can't please them. You can't say anything to them that's going to calm them down. And that has a physical effect on our children. So when the elders said keep a pregnant woman happy, it's because they understood the mental, emotional, spiritual effect it would have on them. And sometimes the babies are like, they want to help mom. Scientists has now proven that if the mother is sick, babies will actually produce certain types of cells that's going to help heal that mother while the baby's inside of the womb. Yeah. And so when we understand that babies are so connected to us, and so if mother's sad, the baby wants to be close to the heart, so the baby's head stays up, okay? Or it doesn't make that full, transition of turning head down, because it wants to stay close to the mother's heart. So our mother's arguing with her boyfriend, or arguing with her husband, or arguing with her mother or mother-in-law. I work with women who fight and argue with their brothers, during a pregnancy. And the babies are sad. The babies, they're coming to this world, and it's uncomfortable. We don't make it comfortable for our children anymore. We used to in our different cultures, whether it was the Mexican culture or the Filipino culture, some of our African cultures, all over the world, where we understood that mothers meant that the society is going to be affected how that mother is taken care of. And so when we understood that, we took extra care to make sure the mother had massages, to make sure that mother had everything, that she didn't have to want for anything. Now these mothers are working. They don't have support. They're working every day, going on a bus. I've seen people who did not get up for the women that were pregnant, didn't even give them a seat, on the bus or on the train station or wherever, and they're just holding on, trying not to fall, this pole or whatever. We really do not honor the woman, and it has to start with us. It has to start with self. Mother has to understand that when people come up to you and they want to touch your belly, don't let them touch your belly. You don't know what kind of energy they're having, but they want to touch you. If you were not pregnant, you would not let them touch your stomach. You would say, you'd slap them. But for some reason, we feel like it's okay for a stranger to come up and touch our belly. And then after they touch your belly, the first thing they want to say, when you have that baby, you better take all the medicine that you can get because it's going to be rough. So we already putting fear in mother. We're putting fear in the baby, and we need more of the young women. And, I have to say this, too, about our young women. A lot of times the reasons we have problems is because we're not listening to the elders. We are listening to the doctors who don't know a damn thing, pretty much, other than medicine, how to medicate you. But they don't know. They don't work with your mind, and this is why they can't tell you about, why your baby is breached, what the emotions are. They don't know how to talk to you about the nutrients that you need to have, so that you don't have what they consider pain in labor. You increase your calcium. It helps with the pain threshold. You do your exercises. You walk to loosen up those ligaments. And you put massage oil on you, like lavender oil, to soften those tissues, to soften that muscle, so that you're not being shot up with these drugs, because the drugs not only affect the mother, the baby is challenged by it because now the drug's in the baby's system, and the baby is sleepy because it comes out as druggy from the drugs it was given, Yeah. And then, they go to the nursery, and then they want to give it sugar water and all of that, and that further, affects the baby's immune system, because the baby should not be druggy and sleepy coming out of the womb. The baby should come out the womb. First of all, the first person they look for is the father, believe it or not, because they've heard mother's voice all along, but they know there's another part to them, which is the father, so they're looking around to see where that father is. And then if you put the baby on top of the mother's stomach, if the baby is not drugged, if there hasn't been any, thing in the mother's system that causes her to have a medicated birth, that baby on its own will crawl towards that nipple. And once it crawls towards the nipple, it latches on and knows how to nurse right away. But you're not going to get that.
Yes, go ahead. What did you say?
You're not going to get that if the mother has been taking drugs.
Yes. Can you speak more about, like, the father's role in the pregnancy? I mean, how can they help?
Fathers can help by, having other friends. Because don't come home with the news to the pregnant mom. Do not bring the news home. All the craziness, especially that's going on in the world right now. Don't bring that home to mother. Mother should be in a sanctuary where she doesn't have to listen to all that. That's very stressful. And I know, before that, she may have been the one that he could talk to, that she nurtured him. She comforted him. But during the pregnancy is a different time. And that's why it has to be planned for, so that fathers know that you're not going to get that while she's pregnant. In fact, you may get yelled at if she's not getting her iron, because if she's not getting enough iron, to eat well and to, give it a proper nutrient, she's going to be fainting, she's going to have headaches, she's going to have migraines, she's going to have a very bad temper, and it's all associated with her not having enough iron. She becomes very mean. And I've talked to brothers before in the past that said, wow, she's different. She wasn't like this before she was pregnant. I think I'm going to leave her soon after this baby is born, not realizing it's because you're not feeding her. You have to feed a pregnant woman, and you have to make sure she's eating healthfully so that you don't have these, issues that these babies are being born with, all these challenges of diseases and things like that. And, the mother having postpartum depression because she's not eating right and she doesn't have the help. Sometimes the fathers want to be the all in all. And I understand the masculine energy. When we're having a baby, you want women in that room that have experience, that know what they're doing, have been trained as far as how to help a woman. The reason I say been trained, because for someone to say, well, I'm going to be a makeshift doula, I'm like, what the hell is a makeshift doula? Doulas are trained. Doulas are trained to pay attention to that mother's emotions, to know even before she asks for something, we know what to get for her. We may wait, but we have an idea already of what she's going to need because we've been trained in the process of birth. Mm-hmm. But to have a friend there, a friend is fine. A friend is fine. She's going to hold your hand. We may even put her to work like here, massage her back. Doulas know how to work with the people in the room, how to work with the family, and how to work with the father. We may only need the father. Just tell her you love her. Just rub her head. Give her a kiss. Breathe with her the way you breathe when you were conceiving this child, because that's what's going to relax her. Mm-hmm. And we want that vagina to be loose. We want that body of the mother to not be tense, because it's tension that causes pain. It's fear that causes pain. I've helped women who were arguing with the fathers the whole time and, didn't want the father in the room when they got ready to have the baby. And you know what? And this is what doulas do. It's like, okay, we hear you. And we talk with you throughout the pregnancy, at least I did. Most of my clients, I established a relationship before labor because I wanted to get to know them, and most doulas are taught to do that. But with this particular woman, she didn't want him to be around. But when she had labor and when she felt the energy of labor, the first person she asked for was that man. Mm-hmm. The first thing I did was get on the phone, and I called him. Your family member's not going to do that. I'm going to say, leave that nigga alone. Yeah. He did this, he did that. Your friend's going to say, girl, you need to get out of that. A doula is going to say, forget all that. Mm-hmm. Let's go call him, because right now you want him. You're emotionally attached to him. This is the baby that you all created. So we'll work all the other stuff out later. Right now, you all need to be a team, the mother, the father, the baby, a loving energy. Now, if there's tension, of course, father can't be in the room. Don't want the father coming in the room that's going to be arguing. That's going to make labor worse. That's going to make it, make her lose her confidence, make her, tense up to where she may even, the centimeter, she may be doing fine. She's at 8, and all of a sudden you look back, she's at 5. Mm-hmm. Because that cervix will close back down. Yeah. And then you're looking at a C-section. Yeah. So emotions of mother are very important, very significant in the relationship. I often tell my clients, look, whatever it is y'all need to work out, y'all need to get that together right now. Don't bring that energy into the labor room, because nobody wants a 72-hour labor. Nobody wants a 12-hour labor. I always tell the woman, let's shoot for 3 to 5 hours, even if it's your first baby, because it's all about relaxation. Yeah. It's all about knowing. Mothers have to know. The challenge I have with the woman is that they know nothing about their bodies. They may not even be interested in learning about their bodies. And, I give a lot of information because these are assignments. You go to my website, it's like, okay, You need to know this. That when you teach a woman, you teach a nation, you need to know how the oils are going to help you. You need to know what foods, how much weight you should be gaining each week. You need to monitor that. You need to monitor yourself, because the challenge is going to be if you don't know what your own, your baselines are, they can tell you anything when you get in the hospital. And everything they tell you is going to be, this is, we need to do this, that, and the other. You want your baby to be okay. But it may be your regular baseline. You don't know. And because you have no knowledge of your blood pressure, you have no knowledge of your temperature, or you have no knowledge of, the other things that they're checking for, the baby's heart tones and all that, then you're at their mercy. And the point of it is that hospitals are designed to make money. Yeah. So every little thing that's done to you in a hospital is a bill attached to it. Okay? And so that's why, with the midwives and the doulas, they may patronize you and say it's okay. They may even tell you that they have their own team of doulas and midwives. And the thing you got to be careful about that is they're going to tell you what the hospital wants you to know. They're going to be as, for the most part, as work with you in ways that may not be the conventional way of the hospital. They're not going to have you get on the floor on all fours. They're not going to suggest that. But whereas your baby may need to turn, around in terms of the posterior position, you got to get down on all fours and your butt up in the air. Most doulas who are trained in a hospital, they're not going to do that because it goes against their protocol. But as a home birth trained midwife, and doula, these are things that we have our women go. We look at what's going on. We look at the position. We look at how she's handling, and I'm talking about whether we're doing home births or hospital births. Because no matter where you are, it's going to be challenges if the mother doesn't know how to work with her body. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you're bringing up a lot of other questions. I did want you to talk. I did want you to speak about cesarean births, since that a lot of people are getting cesarean births now.
Yeah, and that's so surprising and disheartening, because I thought by now it would be less. But it's increasing. And just by working with the women that I work with, I can see why it's increasing. And I'm not talking about my private practice now. I'm talking about when I go into these organizations that I'll come in and I'll teach parenting or I'll teach HIV prevention, and they happen to have pregnant women. And because of what I know, I say, okay, well, let me share some information with the pregnant women of what I know about how to prepare. Because many women don't prepare. They say they want a natural childbirth, but they don't know how to breathe properly. There's a certain type of breathing that you have to do when you're talking about natural childbirth. It's no different than if you're talking about running a triathlon or doing some kind of, your football practice. There's a certain type of breathing you have to do in order to, prepare your body to go through whatever the challenge is that you got to go through. You have to breathe a certain way. We have to breathe a certain way when we're dancing. We're doing African dancing, and if you don't breathe a certain way, you're going to hyperventilate possibly. If you don't know how to pace yourself, if you don't know how to drink your water, you might pass out. Same with labor. Labor is very physically intensive. And so the breathing can help you to master going through those contractions or those waves of energy, as Anna Mae Gaston talks about. When we look at the contractions being waves of energy, and the way that I teach my students is ride that wave. Imagine it being an ocean wave. It's going to come, it's going to peak, and then it's going to go down. And all you have to do is ride it, and the wave is only going to last 60 to 90 seconds. And so that's what women need to know, too. It doesn't last forever. What lasts forever is when you get that Pitocin, and you get that Pitocin drip. Every time that nurse comes and she's putting a little bit more in that IV, and you happen to notice, every time she comes, my stomach gets tighter and I'm getting more and more uncomfortable. And now I'm in pain. Every time this woman comes in here, I don't even want to see this nurse anymore because every time she comes, for some reason, I'm more uncomfortable. And it's the Pitocin that they're putting in the drip and the IV that's increasing the contraction. It's increasing the body, the uterus to contract so that, the cervix opens and everything. And the problem with that is most women are prepared. They don't know this. They haven't studied how the body works, the anatomy of pregnancy or the anatomy of labor, and childbirth. And so because they don't know, they're thinking, everybody's going through this. No. Everybody does not go through that. If you have a Pitocin, you're going to go through that, and yes, you're going to ask for that epidural because the pain that comes with the Pitocin, you have to equalize that with the epidural. Now I have helped some women through it. I helped a couple of women that had Pitocin. They did not have to take the epidural, but I worked my ass off for real. Massaging, excuse my language. But when I talk about work, and I don't like those kind of births, this is why I teach my women. This is what you need to do. You need to walk, like my grandmother told me. You need to eat healthy. You need to drink your red raspberry leaf tea so that your uterus is relaxed. You need to get that squaw vine tea so that your cervix, loosens up. You need to eat your okra, your green leafy vegetables, so that you have that vitamin K, so that your blood clots, so that baby's blood clots. All these things is what my grandmother taught me. Now, she didn't tell me about the vitamin K. She just said eat your green leafy vegetables. But I am the type of person, I'm going to study why. I want to know the whys of things.
Right.
I want to know why she told me to walk, as much as I could every day. Walking and swimming are the best exercises to prepare the body for labor. Yeah. Okay? So these are the things in preparation. If you want a natural childbirth, you got to do the work. You got to study. You got to know your body, just as if you were going to be in some kind of event, a sports event. You have to know how to work with your body. You have to know how to get your body to work for you. Same with labor. It's like climbing Mount Everest.
Now, I did want you to speak on the crisis, the birth crisis that we have here in this country. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die during childbirth, and the children are less likely to live until they're 1. And the
children are what now until 1? Say that again.
What'd you say?
You said what before 1?
The children, the babies, the infant mortality rate and the maternal death rate in the black community is it's 3 or 4 times. Yeah. I don't even know how high it can get. And in Texas, it's even worse. The numbers have gotten worse. And even when I research cesarean births and different stuff like that, it's going down for other races of people. I guess that's the language I can put in so everybody can understand. But nobody is really talking about it, and it's a really big problem when, people are not living for something as natural as childbirth with all of this medical treat technology that we have, with all of this free insurance, all of this free childbirth education. Can you just kind of speak on, what can we do to help this? And I like the way you did tell me the last time about us taking responsibility.
Yeah. We have to do that. We have to take responsibility for our health. I can say that I was faced with a situation where 2 doctors told me with my first child I had to have a C-section. And this was 1974. Well, during 1974, that was a time where women were being, a lot of them were having C-sections, a lot of them were having issues with their own bodies because in the rural communities and in the Native American communities, the doctors were not taking care of them properly and they were sewing them up without their knowledge, so they didn't even know why they had pain at sex afterwards because the doctor sewed them up wrong on purpose. There was a few doctors that was doing that. And it was so widespread that, it was happening in a lot of places and that women had to be aware. I became aware of it, and I was the last thing I wanted to have is a C-section. So when the doctors told me that my pelvic bones were too small, I didn't believe them. And yes, I was small-framed, but I believed my grandmother. A lot of what we believe is what the doctors tell us. My grandmother got to me first. I think a lot of it has to do with who gets to us first.
Yes.
And because we're not listening to the elders anymore, and this is why this is the main problem that I see is young people are so, they believe that they know it all. And when it comes to having these babies, they believe in their doctors. And when the old women, and maybe it's my generation because I know being 60 years old, a lot of us got caught up in the drugs. And maybe it's the women that see these grandmothers that are my age, like, well, she not, her mind ain't right because, she was on them drugs and stuff. And, a lot that did happen in our community. And so we have young people who really don't respect the elders because they may have seen that side, the people that got caught up in the drugs that was put in our community. But prior to that, my grandmother was very sane. My grandmother, we didn't talk about Alzheimer's. Maybe she knew somebody that didn't have it right in their head, but for the most part, our elders were the ones that we went to and we got information from because they knew, and we knew that they knew. So we've come through a phase and a place in our society where a lot of us got caught up, in the drugs that got put into our community, the crack, the cocaine, some of the other stuff that happened, the experimental LSD and all that came through. So the generation that came behind that, of the people that got caught up, don't believe what the older people have to say. So now that we've gone through that, and you can watch some of these programs, and they talk about the 70s, and the late 60s and stuff, and you can see what they did. So we got to reassure our young people now through doulas. I believe the doulas and the midwives that are coming through are going to have to be the educators of the women of the community, because I don't see the doctors doing it, because most of the doctors don't know about what's natural. I've gone through a conference before, and the doctors are telling the women, your bodies aren't even made to have a baby. Because now we see more diapers, women having to wear more diapers, men even having to wear more diapers, and that's a whole other subject right there. But the women, because if you don't know how to push properly, there is going to be some damages done to your body. So midwives and doulas are taught how to pace the pushing. You don't just push, like they did on Martin when that baby just pops out and, no, you end up with a third-degree tear. And then you end up with the stitches and everything, and you might be allergic to the material, and it's a whole nother issue that happens. But as doulas and midwives and birth advocates and childbirth, people who are really the advocates and everything like that, we're going to have to come into the community and set up these groups of women helping women. When we have our childbirth classes, have our women that we are teaching to meet with the women, to set up these mother groups, because our women need support. Oftentimes when I was involved, I don't like baby showers. People say, believe you help people have babies. I don't like baby showers because I don't like the little games. They're cute and all that, But I'm looking at this woman, when y'all are gone, she's going to be with this baby, and there's nobody she's going to be able to call to help her. So generally when I do go to a baby shower, I bring a list. I bring handouts. I bring paper that is going to itemize everything this mother's going to need after this baby's here. Who's going to cook for her the first week? Who's going to cook the next week? We need 8 weeks, and I'm not talking about 6 weeks, because that 6-week thing was for the fathers who could not handle not having sex anymore. That wasn't for the woman. My grandmother said it takes your body 9 months to get a certain way, to have this baby. And some of the home birth midwives that I talked to said, can you understand me?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yes, I just wanted to ask you about how long, I was going to ask you about that anyway, how long do you suggest the postpartum period be? Because I know that I was even going to say like 6 months to a year. I mean,
well, that's a whole other
more than one. If it's more than one child.
That's perfect, but you know what? The problem with that is how many women are going to allow their husbands to have another woman? Because, see, then when you're talking about polygamy, so while one woman is having babies, another one's nursing, you may have that man, okay, well, I'm gonna go with this third wife over here because she's not pregnant or she's not postpartum. Because the thing about pregnancy, though, I encourage my women to have sex during the pregnancy because it helps to keep her open. And if she's understanding how when the vagina is loose, it helps with the labor, it helps with, getting that baby out. So practice, having sex with your partner during pregnancy. But during the postpartum period, that's when you want to take a break because your body needs to get back in order. Generally, I was saying maybe 8 weeks, but then it depends on a woman's body because if she has sex that first time and she has any uncomfortableness at all, okay, we got to wait a couple more weeks. Yeah. Let your body be that sign, that signal for you, as to how you need to proceed, So we need, the fathers to understand that it's not, the woman really needs your support and understand that her body has to come back together. Just because you don't see outside, signs of her not being ready, or outside signs of her looking like she's all healthy and everything, the inside, all that uterus and stuff moved everything out of place. And so everything has to come back down, but it takes practice. I, suggest that men really get into their meditation and their prayers and their, anything else that's going to strengthen their discipline while they're going through that. Because, some men, and I've heard some men tell other men, well, you need to have somebody on the side. You don't have nobody on the side. If it's not a wife, if it's not an honorable situation, if it's not something where the women can come together and understand, well, we're going to support each other. Well, yes, I'm the second wife. I'm the third wife. I'm going to help. I'm going to cook while you and that, you're going through your process of healing. Right. But we're still going to be a unit. Not to go out into the world and get somebody on the side that has nothing to do with helping. And I'm not even saying to the men, go out and get somebody. Yeah. Because I've had men tell the women or the wives, well, you just had a baby. So-and-so, she can come in and she can be, she can help. No, that's not how you do that. Right. That's the last time, that's the last, moment where a woman wants to hear that you got another woman, you bring it into the picture. No. These things have to be talked about, established before any children, and most of the time before even there's a marriage. Like, how are we going to work? What is our plan when we have a baby? Are we going to have my mother come? Do I get along with your mother? Are we going to have that? So that the woman has to help. She needs to help. She needs to help. And don't tell me, well, my great-grandmother or my mother back down in the South somewhere, she dropped them babies and she got back up and, Miss Bessie went back out there and washed them clothes for them white folks. Damn it, that was slavery. Okay? We got to stop telling our woman, you can, after you have a baby, you can get up and you can go back on a basketball court, or you can go back on a tennis court, or you can go back on whatever court. Because, believe me, down the line somewhere, you're going to have female problems. I'm telling you, all these women wearing diapers, there's something wrong. We did not know how to take care of our bodies. And my grandmother said, if you don't take care of your body after you have that baby, it's going to come back on you. And now women got all kind of female problems. Yeah, because your uterus is fault. You have a prolapsed uterus because those muscles aren't tight anymore. You didn't do those exercises that you should have done, in preparation. And after you have the baby, to make sure that's tight again. And I don't know about, I want to do some research on these little, these things are heavy. Those little baby carriers that they're putting in the babies in. Yeah. I'm not even pregnant or, with a little child. And I picked that little thing up, and that thing is heavy. We used to wrap our babies around us. And I think we need to get back into that wrapping. They got some really nice products out there now where you can wrap your baby around you.
That's just getting back into the indigenous, it's something more natural. We're like, if it's not the celebrities doing it, nobody wants to do it. But I did want to give your information out for the people who are just calling in too. Sister Lydia Muhummad, she's at When You Teach when you teach a woman, you teach a nation.com. So her contact phone number is 770-912-5800. If you want a consultant, a doula, I mean, she is certified in so many different things, childbirth educator, sexual health, all of that good stuff. She knows all about it, so get in touch with her if you want to. And I also wanted to go back I wanted to talk about fibroids and infertility, because that's one of the main things that women come to me for. You know, I got into this womb work for delivering babies. I'm not delivering, helping women give birth, being a doula. But I started getting so many women calling me, telling me that they have fibroids and they have PCOS, and they're not able to get pregnant, having a lot of miscarriages. So can you just generally speak on the women who are trying to get to the birth, you know, issues?
Well, I kind of stay in my lane, you know, because fibroids is not what I specialize in at all. And, you know, when I got into the work, you know, I've had women that came to me that were pregnant with fibroids, okay? So I work with them. But as far as that we suffer, you know, in our relationships by not releasing energy and stuff like that, and so the energy builds up inside of us, and you know, these relationships that we don't let go of, you know. So that was one thing that I heard, but that was years ago. And like I said, I don't focus on that because you know, it's like you say I do so many things. The things that I do, I know about, and I don't want to start guessing about the other stuff. I think the people that are specialized in that, I specialize in, you know, talking to women about pre-birth parenting, how to emotionally prepare yourself, how to, you know, talk with the mother and the father about the relationship so that you can be in harmony and peace, so that these children are in a peaceful home, you know, because when the mothers aren't eating properly because of the stress, or the fathers think that, well, you know, you eat one meal a day, not when you're pregnant, you know, not when you're nursing a baby. You know, those restrictions are not for, you know, Muslim women, because every, you know, moment you're producing cells and you're producing blood and you're producing all these things that are making up a child. And it comes through healthy, natural resources of food, healthy food, not canned food, you know, natural as possible, food that we need to eat, so that we're producing healthy children. Now, mentally, we have to think the right thoughts, because if we're watching these negative things on television, you know, I don't know what shows are going to come out, but it's crazy and it's horror, and you put that into your baby, and then you're wondering why your child is so violent, you know, or you're fighting and you're watching, you know, hip-hop in Atlanta, or, you know, I'm in Atlanta now. I'm not in the Bay Area right now. But I think I watch hip-hop, Los Angeles something, I don't know, or New York something. But they're all pretty much similar in that, you know, we enjoy telling each other off now. You know, we enjoy our heads rocking back and forth so we can tell somebody off or tell somebody they can't be somewhere, you know, instead of trying to get along. Women need women. We need each other. We really do. Because after you have that baby, nobody else understands what it's like. You can't depend on that man to sit there with that child with you, because his nature is not that. There are some men who can do that, but then who is going out there and providing? You need resources. So we have to really look at these roles. You know, when a woman has a baby, she may be independent prior to that, but when you have a baby, it's gonna make you sit a little bit, because number one, you need to be teaching your child before it's born. You know, you need to be reading to that baby in your womb, playing relaxation music, understanding that you teach the child before it's born. And then once it gets here, you know, you continue that process of teaching that child. And that takes being patient. And you can't be patient if you're stressed out. That's when we have abuse issues. And just recently, a mother got 20 years, and a father got 30, because they breastfed the baby, but they diluted it with water. So that tells us, and this is not the first time. This happened a few years ago. About the third or fourth time I heard about this. And the thing is, we're not listening. We don't even want to listen. It's been so many times that I've been in a classroom, and I've had young women turn their heads and put their hand up because they didn't want to hear what I had to say. It doesn't bother me because I'm still going to teach, because I know eventually you're going to turn that head around and you're going to start listening to me. Because something's going to happen in the course of your pregnancy, like you're throwing up all the time, and I'm giving you these handouts and I'm giving you this paper because I can help you to understand why. Or because you're having leg cramps and all I got to do is say, go get some calcium. Go get some carrot juice. Increase your broccoli. Those leg cramps will go away. And once they start listening to me, they get a different attitude. We've been taught as women not to hear each other. And we're going to have to break through. Us midwives and us doulas are going to have to break through. Get into some of these programs. Now, the programs that I go to, they didn't hire me to come in to teach about childbirth. They really didn't. They hired me to come in and talk about HIV prevention. Or they hired me to come in and talk about parenting. But I take the opportunity to bring all the skills that I have and teach our college-age students, to teach, our women in these, these programs, these community-based programs, because it's needed. So we can't wait and say, well, I'm trying to get this job doing this, that, and the other. It's like whatever job you get, bring all your resources to that, because, see, we need to sustain ourselves too. Oftentimes people say, well, you need to go out and you just teach. Please. I got bills to pay. I got children. I had children that, I had to put through college, the best way that I could. My name is still out there. They didn't give me a Parent Plus loan excuse or, how you say, what you call those things, forgiveness. Things still have to be paid. And so nobody's building me a house. Back in the day, the midwives used to get a house, or they got a cow, or they got a goat, or they got something. Right. So today, when it comes to women's work, we got to get out of that mindset that because it's women's work, we just volunteer. Hell no. Yes. We want to take care of ourselves too. We want to dress nice. We want to look nice. We want to eat the right foods as well. We want to have a car that's not breaking down every week, because how many of us can get a mechanic to work on our car for free? So we got to be realistic when it comes to the work of women. It also deserves monetary or financial, some kind of compensation, just like that electrician. There's many brothers that know how to fix a refrigerator. Electrician, you don't tell him to come out and volunteer. Right. I'm sorry. Let me right. I'm just passionate.
I know. I'm like, I got so many questions. I do not want to take over the line. I'm trying to see if anybody else.
Please, someone else, please. I'd like to hear what others have to say as well. And if not, that's okay. I'm also on Facebook. When you teach a woman, you teach a nation.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me unmute you. Okay, you're back on. Okay, you're back on. So if anybody else would like to, I think, but I'm going to give another chance just in case somebody thinks of some other questions. I did want to speak with you about anger management during the postpartum period. Can you give some techniques of how the man and the woman gets frustrated because of the new baby? How can they deal with a little anger they may feel?
Well, first of all, you got to understand, babies will cry, all right? And generally, we're not used to our schedules being interrupted. No, your schedules won't be interrupted with a baby. And it takes a few weeks, maybe a couple of months for the schedule to get right, with the child, where the child understands, this is sleep time, this is awake time, whatever. But for the most part, people understand, like every 2 hours, that baby needs to eat. That baby needs to nurse. If you're breastfeeding your baby, you don't wait 3 and 4 hours to breastfeed a baby. Every 2.5 to 3 hours. Not only does that help the mother, because it relieves her breast so that she doesn't get backed up, as far as the milk flow, and caked up, because then she's looking at, I forget what it's called now, but, she gets sick when that milk backs up. So you want it to flow, and also it helps the baby to establish a good milk supply, because in the beginning the mother has more milk than she needs, because the body's like producing enough milk for like twins or triplets. So when the baby nurses, the body adjusts itself over a period of weeks to understand how much milk the mother should be producing. The things that I find are very interesting when I help women have babies is that the babies are so calm. I use lavender oil in the room. I play Native American flutes, some Japanese flutes, soft music with maybe an ocean background. The room is calm. And so then when I call, maybe that next day or two, the baby's crying. I'm like, why is your baby crying? And why are you upset? The baby's crying. Number one, you got the TV blaring. Things are blasting. The conversation in the room is not harmonious, okay? And so the baby is very sensitive to its environment. The other thing is I often tell parents, you need a rocking chair. That is so important to have a rocking chair, because a rocking chair, you can sit in that chair and you can rock that baby, and that baby is soothed. The mother's not going to develop back problems because she's sitting on the edge of the bed. The father is going to be calm because baby's going to be calm. When a baby's crying, everybody's upset. Another thing, the reason why babies cry is the mother's not eating properly. If you're not eating properly, then the nutrients aren't coming through the milk and the baby's irritated.
Yeah.
If the mother and the father have argued, or if there's other children in the house and you haven't gotten them together and you may have yelled at them, or you just, something else is going on in the family where there's no peace, it sours the milk. Milk doesn't taste good. An angry or stressed out mother's milk is horrible. Yeah. So you got to look at how the emotions are affecting the body chemistry of the mother, which in turn affect the baby's satisfaction. You got to look at what foods you're eating. You can't eat chocolate and peanuts and sodas and, these not orange drinks, but these green and blue drinks and stuff, because it's irritating. It goes into the milk. And so you're producing milk that is not healthy. And the baby responds to all those chemicals and stuff that is getting in his system. And soon it will reject the milk, or you won't be producing enough milk. And then that's when the doctors say, well, you got to stop nursing because baby's not gaining weight. And you can't wait to hear that because you want to give him formula anyway. Formula is not healthy, not as healthy as mother's milk. And now once you give them the formula, now you got a whole other set of problems, allergies. No baby's nose should be running. You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay.
The mother's.
When I see a runny nose baby, that means there's some mucus that the baby's getting and that should be getting. Either it's in the food that the mother is eating, or it's allergies from the formula. But there shouldn't be runny noses unless the baby actually has a cold or something.
Right.
And even then, that can be relieved very quickly. Babies don't need as much aromas, or how you say essential oils. You can put 1 or 2 drops in your diffuser of tea tree or eucalyptus, lavender, and that helps to cut down on the viruses and the bacteria that families sometimes share with each other. Don't kiss the baby in the mouth. Ask your relatives not to kiss the baby in the mouth. In that first few weeks or months, don't kiss the baby in the face. Direct your children. And the beard, the beard can irritate the baby's face. Something like, oh, well, this is my beard and I'm going to be this way. Fine. Kiss the baby's ears. Kiss the baby's feet, So, when we start seeing all those some people call them heat bumps if it's too hot, or these little pimples on the baby, sometimes because the delicate skin is being irritated. So you want to make sure you're out of the baby's face. And the reason why, I'm saying also don't kiss the baby in the face because, babies get herpes too, okay? Yeah. And being an STD HIV prevention educator, a person could be, affected by that, not know it because you don't have the outbreak right away, but it's in the blood. And so now you're kissing on a baby or a child, and here this baby develops an outbreak of herpes. So we have to be really careful in this day and time, kissing children in the mouth. We have to be very, very careful with hygiene today. And we love our children. Yes, we want to kiss them, but there's so many diseases because there's so many different relationships that people are having, and so many people are not honest about the relationships that they're having. And then they're coming around you or they're coming around the children, male or female, and passing on these diseases. And the antibodies are not working. And the doctors are telling you that, and they're going so high up on these medications and stuff, you can't even afford these medications a lot of times. So I often teach about aromatherapy, or the use of essential oils, the use of herbs. Every family, should get a book on herbal, healing. Get a book on aromatherapy, homeopathic, homeopathic products and things like that. There's so many books on the market. I understand about these things because I watched my grandmother. When we got sick, she went to the garden and she pulled up the peppermint, leaves out the garden. And we didn't have a farm. We just had a house and grass, but she always made sure we had some peppermint leaves, some peppermint plants, and you can grow peppermint on your balcony, apartments, whatever. But when we got ill, she knew how to go to the stove, and she concocted something on that stove. And I don't remember all that. I just specifically remember that peppermint. I also remember how she put sardines and something else on my neck when my sister had mumps. We had the childhood diseases, but our grandparents knew what to do, Right. And there weren't side effects. Like we looking at side effects today. Autism is like 1 in 88 or 1 in 50 children now. It's high. Ridiculously high. You hear me?
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Did anybody have a question right now before we go to Sister Muhammad?
And I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe, and if you need to talk to your doctor, please talk to your doctor. If you're on medication, don't get off your medication because of what I'm talking about. I'm an educator, and I teach people to educate themselves. I don't say do this or do that. I'm like, learn about it. That's my disclaimer. Yes. Learn. Yes. We all can learn more about our bodies and how to help our families stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have given a lot of great information. Get in touch with Sister Muhammad for a consultation. We want her to be your doula. She is certified and educated in so many different topics. You can reach her on her website. When you teach a woman, you teach a nation. And her
pages, when you teach a woman, you teach a nation.
And anything else you'd like to tell us about? Anything you've got coming up?
Because the more we can talk about birth, I'm so glad you invited me, because we need to talk about this all the time, because it's not just about pushing a baby out. It's about everything about our lives, even ourselves, like why we are the way we are, what happened at our birth when we were born, Yes. It affects our whole being, birth. Mhm.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank
you so much. On board to this Womb Wellness Call series that we're doing, and we have so many great people. If you have missed any calls, you can go talk.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know, what did you think about this video?